I am an archivist. My job is simple. I watch species. I study them. I write reports for the Galactic Council. For 3 cycles, I watched humans. I thought I understood them. I was wrong. I was so very wrong. It began at the trade hub of Prime. This was a busy place. Ships came and went every hour. Merchants sold goods from 1,000 worlds. Soldiers, traders, diplomats, and travelers all mixed together in the crowded halls. I had a small office near the observation deck. From there, I could watch everyone. Humans had been part of the galactic community for 60 years. They were new. Most species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Humans were like children who had just learned to walk. The council allowed them membership after they fought some pirates near the outer rim. It was a small fight. Nobody thought much of it. I certainly did not think much of humans. I watched Commander Jack that day. He was the captain of a human patrol ship called the Horizon. It was a medium-sized vessel, nothing special. Was a tall man with gray hair at his temples and a calm face. He smiled a lot. He shook hands with alien traders. He laughed at their jokes. He seemed soft. His tactical officer stood near him. Her name was Lieutenant Kate Morgan. She was younger, with sharp eyes and red hair tied back in a tight braid. She watched everything around her, but her body looked relaxed. She did not seem like a warrior to me. She seemed like someone waiting for lunch. Then there was Ambassador Sam Becker. He worked at the human embassy on Prime. I watched him negotiate a trade agreement with a merchant. They were known for hard bargaining. They could talk for days without giving an inch. But Becker sat with them patiently. He smiled. He nodded. He offered compromises. He was polite to the point of being boring. I wrote in my report that day, humans are adaptable but pose no significant threat. They prefer diplomacy over conflict. They lack the biological enhancements of superior species. They are not strong like the. They are not fast like the. They are average in every way. I believed this. Everyone believed this. They are a logical species. We trust data. We trust patterns. The pattern with humans was clear. They talked instead of fighting. They made friends instead of enemies. They built trade routes instead of war fleets. They were peaceful, soft, harmless. That evening, I was finishing my daily observations when the news arrived. A human colony called New Haven had gone silent. It was a small world on the edge of explored space. 12,000 humans lived there. Farmers, engineers, teachers, and their families. They had built a quiet life far from the busy center of human territory. Then the Dominion came. There were slavers. They came from the uncharted regions beyond the galactic rim. Their empire was old and cruel. They raided worlds, took prisoners, and sold them in their markets. Many species had suffered under their chains. Nobody challenged them. They had 800 warships and millions of soldiers. Fighting them meant death. They broadcast a message to the galaxy. They showed images of New Haven burning. They showed human colonists in chains. They laughed and called humans a soft species that would make excellent slaves. I was in the trade hub's main hall when the humans received this news. I watched Commander. He was standing near a food vendor holding a cup of something hot. A young officer ran to him and showed him a data pad, read the message. His face did not change, but something behind his eyes shifted. It was small, quick, like a door closing. Then it was gone. He handed the cup to the officer and walked toward the docking bay. His steps were calm, his back was straight. He did not run. He did not shout. Lieutenant Morgan fell into step beside him. She had seen the message too. Her face was blank, completely blank, but her hands had curled into fists at her sides. Ambassador Becker left his meeting with the mid-sentence. He did not apologize. He did not explain. He simply stood and walked away. They stared after him in confusion. All across the station, I saw humans doing the same thing. They stopped what they were doing. They read their messages, and then they moved, quietly, efficiently, like parts of a machine clicking into place. I told myself it was shock. Grief made people behave strangely. The humans were probably going to cry or hold memorials or write angry letters to the council demanding help. But there were no tears, no screaming, no panic. Just silence and movement. I returned to my office and began writing an updated report. I noted the attack on New Haven. I noted the human response. I wrote, "Humans appear to be in a state of collective shock. Their lack of emotional display suggests they may be suppressing grief. It is likely they will appeal to the Galactic Council for assistance." I was wrong about everything. 3 hours later, I learned that the human Third Fleet had been activated. 47 warships were moving toward space. They had not asked the Council for permission. They had not requested assistance. They had not even informed anyone of their plans. They were simply going. I found this strange. They had hundreds of ships. The humans were sending less than 50. It was suicide. It made no logical sense. I went to the observation deck and watched the human ships depart from Prime. The horizon was among them. Its engines glowed blue against the black of space. I remember thinking that I would never see that ship again. I remember thinking that humans were fools. I remember looking at their fleet and feeling something close to pity. But deep down, in a place I did not want to examine, I felt something else. A tiny spark of unease, because I had seen Commander's eyes when he read that message. I had seen Lieutenant Morgan's fists. I had watched Ambassador Becker abandon a meeting like it meant nothing. These were not the actions of people in shock. These were the actions of people who had made a decision. I did not understand it then. I told myself I was imagining things. Humans were soft, everyone knew that. They would fly to space, realize they were outnumbered and retreat, or they would die. Either way, the galaxy would move on. I went asleep that night believing the universe made sense. By morning, everything had changed. The Galactic Council met the next morning. Representatives from 200 species filled the great chamber. Their voices echoed off the high walls as they argued about the attack. Watched from the archive balcony above. His job was to record everything. Today, he leaned forward in his seat, unable to look away. High Counselor stood at the center podium. She was tall and thin with silver skin that caught the light. Her voice was calm but carried easily through the chamber. The Dominion has claimed responsibility for the attack on the human colony called New Haven, she said. 12,000 humans have been taken. We must discuss our response. The chamber erupted in noise. Species shouted over each other. Some demanded action, most urged caution. A general stood. They were large and covered in thick scales. They were known as warriors. They have 800 ships, he said. We have fought them before. We lost. Attacking them again would be foolish. An ambassador nodded. They were fast and cunning, but they preferred to avoid direct conflict. We should negotiate, she said. Perhaps we can offer tribute, buy the prisoners back. It is the only practical solution. Many voices agreed. They were too powerful. Fighting was pointless. Negotiation was the only path. Then Ambassador Sam Becker stood. The chamber fell quiet. Everyone turned to look at the human. He was not tall or impressive. He wore a simple gray suit. His face was calm. His hands were folded in front of him. The United Earth government thanks the Council for its concern, Becker said. His voice was steady and polite. However, humanity will handle this matter on its own. We ask only that the Council does not interfere. Counselor leaned forward. Ambassador Becker, I must advise caution. The Dominion has destroyed empires. They have millions of soldiers. Your fleet is small. Attacking them would be suicide. Becker nodded slowly. We understand the risks, Counselor. Then why proceed? Asked. Why throw away lives for a colony that may already be lost? Becker was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice had not changed. It was still calm, still polite, but something underneath it had hardened. Because they are ours, he said simply. 12,000 of our people are in chains right now. Our children are being sold in markets. Our families are being tortured for sport. He paused. They believe we are soft. They believe we will cry and beg and offer them money to return what they stole. They are wrong. He looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces staring at him. Humanity did not ask for this war, Becker continued. We do not want war. We have spent 60 years building friendships and trade agreements. We have been good neighbors. We have followed your rules. We have been peaceful. His eyes grew cold. But our peace is not weakness. It is a choice. And when someone takes our people, sells our children, and laughs while doing it, we make a different choice. He turned to leave. Ambassador, Counselor called out, what choice is that? Becker stopped at the door. He looked back over his shoulder. You will see, he said. Then he walked out. Sat frozen in his seat. His hearts were beating fast. He had never heard a human speak like that. The words were simple. The voice was calm. But the meaning underneath was something ancient and dangerous. He began writing frantically in his notes. Human ambassador has declined council assistance. Humans appear committed to military action despite overwhelming odds. Motivation unclear. Behavior does not match previous observations of species. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Horizon, Commander Jack stood before his crew. The ship was moving fast through hyperspace. Stars blurred past the viewports like streaks of white paint. The crew stood at attention in the main cargo bay. 300 men and women in uniform. Their faces were serious. Looked at them for a long moment before speaking. By now you have all seen the broadcast, he said. You have seen our people in chains. You have seen them laughing at us. He paused. The galaxy expects us to do nothing. They think we are too weak, too small, too soft. They think we will beg for help and accept whatever scraps we are given. He walked slowly along the front row of his crew. But we are not here to meet expectations, continued. We are here to bring our people home, every single one of them, dead or alive. We will find them, we will free them, and we will make sure they never forget what happens when they touch humanity. Lieutenant Kate Morgan stood near the front. Her face was like stone. Her eyes burned with cold fire. This will not be easy, said. We are outnumbered. Many of us will not come back. He stopped and faced his crew directly. But I am not asking you to die for glory or conquest. I am asking you to fight for family, for the 12,000 souls who are waiting for us to come, for every child crying in a slave pen right now, praying that someone will save them. He raised his voice slightly. Are we going to answer that prayer? The crew responded as one. Yes, sir. Are we going to bring them home? Yes, sir. Nodded. Then get to your stations. We arrive in space in 6 hours. The crew dispersed. Kate Morgan walked beside as they headed to the bridge. 47 ships against 800, she said quietly. Admiral Cole is either brilliant or insane. Smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Maybe both. What's the actual plan? Morgan asked. We hit hard and fast, replied. No defensive formations, no careful positioning. We go straight through them like a knife. They expect us to fight like everyone else. Careful, afraid, trying to survive. He shook his head. We are not trying to survive. We are trying to win. Morgan was quiet for a moment. And if we can't win? Stopped walking, he turned to face her. Kate, those people on New Haven trusted us to protect them. We failed. Now they are suffering because we were not strong enough to stop it. His voice grew hard. I will burn every ship in the sky before I let them suffer one more day. And if I die doing it, at least I will die knowing I tried. Morgan nodded slowly. Then let's make it count. Far away on Prime received a new report. They had broadcast another message. This one showed human prisoners being sold at auction. Buyers laughed and bid on families. Children were separated from parents. The announcer made jokes about soft humans and their worthless tears. watched the video with growing horror, not because of the cruelty. He had seen cruelty before. He was horrified because he knew the humans had seen this too. And now their fleet was 6 hours away from space. Looked at the stars outside his window and felt, for the first time in his life, genuine fear. Not of war. He was afraid of what he did not understand. He was afraid of humans. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of territory. 47 ships hung in the darkness, their engines humming with power. Ahead of them, the border defense stations glowed red with warning lights. Warlord received the report on his throne world deep inside space. He was massive, even for a. His gray skin was covered in scars from 100 battles. Golden rings hung from his tusks. He sat on a throne made from the bones of his enemies. "How many ships?" he asked. 47, Warlord, his officer replied. Laughed, it was a deep, ugly sound. 47, we have 800. These humans are more foolish than I thought. He waved a clawed hand. Send the border fleet, destroy them all. Bring me their captain's skull for my collection. 300 warships moved to intercept the human fleet. They were massive vessels bristling with weapons. Each one could destroy a small moon. The commanders were confident. This would be easy. They were wrong. Commander stood on the bridge of the horizon. They showed the approaching enemy fleet. Red dots filled the display like angry stars. 300 ships incoming, Lieutenant Morgan reported. Her voice was calm. They are forming a standard containment pattern. They expect us to hold position and fight defensively. Smiled grimly. Then let's surprise them. All ships attack formation Delta, full speed ahead. The human fleet surged forward. The commanders were confused. Standard tactics said that an outnumbered fleet should spread out, create distance, look for escape routes. The humans were doing the opposite. They were charging directly into the heart of the formation. The two fleets collided. It was not a battle, it was a hurricane. Human ships did not fight like other species. They did not maintain safe distances. They did not pull back when their shields failed. They flew straight at the enemy, weapons blazing, and did not stop until one side was destroyed. A destroyer targeted the horizon. Its cannons tore into the human ship's starboard side. Fire erupted from the hull. Warning alarms screamed through the corridors. "Starboard engines are gone," an officer shouted. "We're losing power." Gripped the armrest of his chair. "Reroute power from non-essential systems. Keep weapons online." Morgan's fingers flew across her console. "Enemy destroyer is coming around for another pass." "Then give them something to think about," said. "Target their bridge, everything we have." The horizon fired. Blue energy lanced across space and struck the destroyer. Its bridge exploded in a flash of light. The massive ship began to drift, dead in space. All around them the battle raged. A human cruiser, the Defiance, lost its weapons array. Instead of retreating, its captain turned the ship toward the nearest vessel and accelerated. The two ships collided in a ball of fire. Both were destroyed. Fighters swarmed through the chaos. Human pilots ejected from damaged craft and continued firing with handheld weapons as they floated through the debris. One pilot, her ship torn in half, managed to guide the burning wreckage into a fuel transport before she died. Private Danny Reeves watched through the viewport of a Marine. He was 22 years old. This was his first real battle. His hands shook as he gripped his rifle. Sergeant Torres sat beside him. She was older, with gray streaks in her dark hair and scars on her arms. She had fought in 3 wars already. "First time seeing real combat?" she asked. Danny nodded. He could not speak. Torres looked out at the explosions filling space. Human ships and ships dying together in fire and light. "My grandfather fought in the Mars Rebellion," she said. "He told me something I never forgot." She turned to look at Danny. "He said humans are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. We are not the But we are the only species too stubborn to stay dead. Danny swallowed hard. What does that mean? Tors smiled. It was not a kind smile. It means that when we decide something matters, we do not stop, ever. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how many times we fall, we get back up and we keep going until the job is done. Outside, a battleship exploded as 3 human frigates concentrated fire on its reactor core. The fleet was in chaos. They had expected an easy victory. Instead, they were losing ships faster than they could count. The humans did not fight fair. They did not follow rules. They threw themselves at the enemy with a fury that they had never seen. Warlord received the battle reports with growing disbelief. "We have lost how many ships?" he demanded. 200, Warlord, in the first hour. Stood from his throne, his eyes were wide. "That is impossible, they only have 47 ships. Had Warlord, they have lost 12, but their remaining ships continue to fight. They refuse to retreat." Felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. Not fear of losing the battle. He still had hundreds of ships, but fear of something he did not understand. Why were they not retreating? Why were they not afraid? On the horizon, Commander watched as the defensive line began to break. Ships were scattering. Some were trying to regroup. Others were simply running. "The line is open," Morgan reported. "We can punch through." Nodded. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Destination. The heart of the slave trade. The place where 12,000 humans from New Haven were being held. "Sir," Morgan said quietly, "we've lost 15 ships. Our remaining vessels are all damaged. If we jump to, we may not have enough strength to fight our way out." Looked at her. "Kate, those people have been in chains for 3 days now. Every hour we waste, more of them suffer, more of them die." He turned back to the, "We did not come here to play it safe. We came here to bring them home." Morgan nodded once. "Understood, sir." The human fleet, battered and burning but unbroken, jumped to hyperspace. Far away, watched the battle footage in his office on Prime. His hands trembled as he recorded his observations. "I have made a terrible mistake," he wrote. "We all have. We looked at humans and saw a soft, peaceful species. We saw their smiles, their diplomacy, their willingness to compromise. We thought these things made them weak." He paused, watching a human cruiser ram itself into a carrier. "We were wrong. We saw the surface. We never saw what was underneath. The humans were peaceful because they chose to be peaceful. They were kind because they chose to be kind. But when someone hurts their family, when someone threatens their children, they make a different choice." He looked at the casualty reports. 300 ships destroyed. The human fleet had lost 20, but the survivors were still moving forward, still fighting, still refusing to stop. "I do not know what happens next," wrote, "but I know one thing for certain. I have misjudged this species. We all have, and I fear the galaxy will never be the same." Human fleet arrived at like falling stars. Was an ugly world. Its sky was brown with pollution. Its cities were built on the backs of slaves. Massive markets sprawled across the surface where living beings were bought and sold like cattle. They had ruled here for 1,000 years. They believed nothing could touch them. They were wrong. The garrison commander scrambled to organize his defenses, but his soldiers were confused and terrified. News of the border massacre had spread fast. 300 ships destroyed by a force 1/6 their size. It seemed impossible. It seemed like a nightmare. Now that nightmare was in orbit above their heads. Captain Vance stood in the bay of a Marine. She was tall and strong, with short hair and a scar across her chin. She had been a Marine for 15 years. She had never led a mission like this one. Around her, 200 Marines checked their weapons and adjusted their armor. They were quiet, focused, ready. "Listen up," Vance said. Her voice was hard and clear. "Down there are 12,000 of our people, men, women, and children who have been in chains for 4 days. They are scared. They are hurt. They are waiting for someone to save them. She looked at her soldiers. We are that someone. The Marines nodded. Rules of engagement are simple, Vance continued. Any who fights you put down, any who surrenders you secure. Our priority is the prisoners. Find them, free them, get them to the extraction points. Questions? There were no questions. Then let's go bring our people home. The fell from the sky. The garrison tried to fight back. Anti-aircraft fire filled the air. 2 were hit and exploded before reaching the ground, but the rest made it through, crashing down in the streets of the slave market like angry fists. Marines poured out with weapons blazing. Private Danny Reeves was among them. His fear from the space battle was gone. Something else had replaced it, something cold and hard. He had seen the videos of human children being sold. He had heard the laughing. Now he was here, and he had a rifle in his hands. Sergeant Torres led their squad through the market streets. Buildings burned around them. Soldiers tried to form defensive lines, but the humans moved too fast, hit too hard. They were not fighting to hold ground. They were fighting to move forward, always forward. They reached the first slave pen. It was a massive building with bars on the windows and chains on the doors. Torres blew the lock with a plasma charge. The door fell inward. Inside were hundreds of prisoners, not just humans, dozens of species. They cowered in the darkness, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Torres lowered her weapon. "We are here to help," she said. "You are free." An old woman crawled forward. Her silver skin was covered in bruises. "Who are you?" she whispered. "United Earth Marines," Torres replied. "We are getting everyone out, all of you. Can you walk?" The woman nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. "Then follow us, stay close, stay quiet." All across, similar scenes played out. Human Marines kicked down doors, broke chains, and pulled prisoners from the darkness. They freed humans and a dozen other species, anyone they had enslaved. The aliens stared at their rescuers in disbelief. "Why?" a young male asked. His scales were dull from malnutrition. "We are not your people. Why would you risk your lives for us?" The Marine who freed him shrugged. "Because no one deserves chains." Commander led a strike team directly into the command fortress. It was a massive structure at the center of the city, bristling with weapons and guards. The assault was brutal. Hallways became slaughterhouses. Soldiers fell by the dozens. Waited in the control room. Once team breached the door, they raised his hands in surrender. "Wait," shouted. "We can negotiate. I have wealth, territory, slaves. Whatever you want, it is yours. Just stop this madness." Walked forward slowly. His armor was scorched and dented. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye, but his steps were steady. "Where are the humans from New Haven?" he asked. His voice was quiet. Pointed to a screen showing a map. "The main holding facility, Sector 7, they are all there, unharmed. I made sure of it. Please, I was following orders. Warlord commanded the attack. I am just a soldier." Looked at the map, then he looked at. "You are a slaver," said. "You sell children, you break families, you profit from suffering." He raised his rifle. "And you think I care about your excuses?" Died quickly. It was more mercy than he deserved. In Sector 7, Marines found the survivors of New Haven. Ben was among them. He had been an engineer on the colony, a quiet man who liked building things. Now he was thin and pale, his face hollow from days without proper food. He huddled with 30 other survivors in a dark cell. When the door exploded inward and Marines rushed in, Ben could not believe what he was seeing. A soldier knelt beside him. "Are you hurt? Can you walk?" Ben opened his mouth, but no words came out. He just stared at the human face in front of him, a face from home. "It's okay," the soldier said gently. "You're safe now. We're taking you home." Ben, who had survived 4 days of hell, collapsed into the arms of a stranger and wept. The liberation took 6 hours. When it was over, the garrison was destroyed. was dead, and thousands of prisoners were free. But the humans did not stop there. Admiral Cole, commanding the Third Fleet from his flagship, received reports of other slave worlds deeper in space. He made a decision without hesitation. "We continue," he ordered. "Every slave world, every market, we free them all." Warlord watched from his throne world as his empire began to crumble. World after world fell silent. His ships were being hunted down and destroyed. His slave markets were burning. He broadcast a desperate message to the human fleet. "I offer surrender. I will release all human prisoners. I will pay any price you demand. Just stop." Admiral Cole's response was simple and cold. "You sold our children. There will be no deal." The human fleet kept coming. On Prime received new reports every hour. His hands shook as he wrote. "The humans are not seeking territory. They are not seeking wealth. They are not even seeking strategic advantage. They are seeking justice, or perhaps vengeance. I do not know if they see a difference." He watched footage of human Marines freeing slaves of every species. He watched aliens cry with joy as their chains were broken. "Other species are starting to notice," continued. They all had people on those slave worlds, people they had given up hope of ever seeing again. Now they watch humans die to save them." He paused, looking at the burning ruins on his screen. "I thought I understood humanity," he wrote. "I thought they were soft. I was wrong. Their softness is not weakness. It is a choice. And when someone forces them to make a different choice, they become something else entirely." He stared at the stars outside his window. They become wrath. 6 months later, the Dominion was gone. It had taken humanity 3 months to destroy their military. Every warship was hunted down. Every fortress was broken. Every slave market was burned to the ground. Warlord was found dead in his throne room. Some said he killed himself. Others said his own soldiers did it, hopping to end the war. It did not matter. He was dead, and his empire died with him. The Galactic Council called an emergency session to discuss what they were now calling the human situation. Attended. He was no longer a junior archivist. His reports on human behavior had made him famous. Everyone wanted to understand the species that had destroyed the in less than 100 days. Was not sure he understood them himself, but he had watched more closely than anyone else. The council chamber was different now. Before, representatives had spoken over each other. They had argued and debated loudly. Today, they sat in nervous silence. Every eye turned to the door when Ambassador Sam Becker entered. Becker looked the same as always. Gray suit, calm face, polite smile. But the room felt his presence like a change in the air. Species that had once ignored humanity now watched his every step. High Counselor stood at the central podium. She was usually calm and confident. Today, her voice carried a slight tremor. "Ambassador Becker, the Council wishes to address the recent events. The destruction of the Dominion has raised concerns among member species." She paused carefully. "Humanity has demonstrated military capabilities far beyond what we expected. Many are wondering what this means for the future of galactic relations." Becker nodded politely. "I understand the Council's concerns. Please ask whatever questions you have." A general spoke first. His voice was rough and nervous. "They had 800 ships. Your fleet numbered less than 50. How did you destroy them so completely?" Becker considered the question. "They expected us to fight like everyone else. Careful, defensive, afraid of losses. We were not afraid. We fought to win, and we accepted the cost." "You lost many ships," the general noted. "We did. 23 ships destroyed. Over 4,000 soldiers killed." Becker's voice grew quieter. "We do not take those losses lightly. Every one of them had a family, a home, dreams. They gave their lives so that 12,000 strangers could be free." The chamber was silent. An ambassador leaned forward. "Ambassador, many species are afraid. If humanity could destroy what might you do to others who displease you? Becker smiled gently. It was the same easy smile had once thought was weak. Now he knew better. Humanity did not want this war, Becker said. We spent 60 years building friendships, making trade agreements, following rules. We were good neighbors. We asked only to be left in peace. His eyes moved slowly across the chamber. They took our children. They sold them like animals. They laughed while doing it. He paused. We responded. He let the silence hang for a moment. Humanity has a saying, Becker continued. Speak softly and carry a big stick. It means that we prefer peace. We prefer kindness. We prefer cooperation. But if someone mistakes our kindness for weakness, if someone hurts our family, we have other tools available. He looked directly at Counselor. The Council has nothing to fear from humanity. We do not want your territory. We do not want your resources. We want what we have always wanted: peace, trade, and friendship. His voice grew slightly harder. But let me be clear. If any species ever again takes human prisoners, sells human children, or attacks human colonies, our response will be the same. Absolute, total, final. Nobody spoke. Are there any other questions? Becker asked pleasantly. There were no other questions. On Earth, President Dawson held a quiet ceremony for the survivors of New Haven. It was held in a small garden outside the Capitol building. No cameras were allowed. No journalists, just the survivors and their families. Ben stood among them. He had gained weight since his rescue. His face had color again, but his eyes still carried shadows that would never fully leave. President Dawson spoke simply. She did not give a grand speech about victory or glory. She talked about the people who did not come home, the 3,000 colonists who died before rescue arrived, the 4,000 soldiers who gave their lives breaking the war machine. We cannot bring them back, she said. We cannot undo what was done, but we can make a promise. Never again. Never again will humanity's children be taken without answer. Never again will our people suffer while the galaxy watches and does nothing. She looked at the survivors. You are home now. You are safe. And as long as humanity exists, you will never stand alone. Ben cried. He was not ashamed. Commander Jack retired from active duty after the war. He said he had seen enough fighting for one lifetime. Lieutenant Kate Morgan took command of the Horizon. The ship was repaired and renamed the USS New Haven in honor of the colony. Its crew wore patches showing a broken chain, the symbol of the liberation. Sergeant Torres received a medal for her actions on. She did not attend the ceremony. Instead, she visited the families of the soldiers who died under her command. She told them how their children fought, how they died bravely, how they mattered. Private Danny Reeves stayed in the Marines. He had learned something about himself during the war. He had found a purpose. When asked why he continued to serve, he said, "Because someone might need saving tomorrow, and I want to be there when they do." Completed his final report on humanity. He sat alone in his office on Prime, looking at the stars outside his window. His notes were spread across his desk. 3 cycles of observations, thousands of pages, and yet he felt like he had only begun to understand. He began to write. I spent years believing humans were soft, emotional, and unremarkable. I saw their smiles and their diplomacy. I saw their willingness to compromise. I thought these things made them weak. I was wrong. He paused, remembering Commander's eyes when the news came, Lieutenant Morgan's fists, the human ships charging into certain death, the Marines breaking chains on. Their softness is not weakness, it is restraint. Their emotions are not flaws, they are fuel. And when that fuel ignites, when humanity unleashes its wrath, nothing in this galaxy can stand against them. He thought about the old spacefaring species, the ones who had traveled the stars before humans ever looked up at the sky. They had always whispered warnings about Earth, had thought they were superstitious. He understood now. They were not warning us about human weapons or human ships. They were warning us about the human heart. And what happens when you break it? He finished his report with a single conclusion. I saw humans unleash their wrath. I watched them burn an empire to ash to save 12,000 of their own. I saw them free slaves of every species, asking nothing in return. I witnessed compassion and fury exist in the same breath, the same action, the same people. He signed his name at the bottom of the page. I will spend the rest of my life hoping I never see humanity angry again, because nothing will ever be the same. He looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, human ships were patrolling the borders. Human colonies were growing. Human children were playing in gardens under alien suns. And the galaxy watched them now with new eyes. Not with pity, not with contempt. With respect and just a little fear. As it should be.